So this week we watched the TED Talk, The Bizarre Economics of Tax Havens and Pirate Banking by James S. Henry as a speaker. He began talking about all the tax havens and how, well, for background, tax havens aren't tax-free. There's lower tax rates in different countries. Generally, instead of their charging higher taxes, they charge high customs or import fees to cover the losses in the tax revenue. He starts by saying Apple made $100 billion in tax-free revenue in the last 3 years alone. He showed a PowerPoint that showed in order to collect taxes, you need some sort of trust. One of them is structural trust, which is public property of systems and not private attitude. Collective goods, contagious and free. There has to be an economic value. The fourth factor, production, less waste, more liability, banking, bartering, and it has real innovation in it. The political value, you need a political value to also be able to control taxes. Society, fair show to question, due process, voluntary compliance, responsible citizenship. And his working hypothesis was sustainable market democracies require trust, which I believe is true. And then he shows another graph about the low trust trap, which some societies rely on doomsday book model to collect taxes. The doomsday book model is when you have a strong government but low trust. So an example of that would be the king in the 13th century, and when the tax collectors came to all the peasants and inventoried all their revenues and all their monies and collected their tax from them. But the U.S., for us, is a strong state with high trust to pay taxes, so we don't really have to use a doomsday book model. You show another statistic that Apple has 1.2 million workers in China. It's a source of tax havens. They send all their work over there for less tax rates, which means they end up acquiring more profit in the long run. Companies and countries use low tax havens to export goods and hold their money because they aren't charged a higher tax rate than where they were originally from, like the USA. He said the debt problem in the world is not actually a debt problem. It's the inability to tax the first world countries by the third world countries and the assets they're accumulated at. So the first world countries will put all their money and their properties and their assets in the third world country bankings in order to get a lower tax rate again, as I've said. So it's not really a debt problem. It's the third world countries have no power to tax the first world countries, so they're losing out on those. Therefore, they have to charge the higher customs or import fees. He says there's an enormous amount of wealth that is off the books completely, like not in bank deposits at all. He says they're in vaults. There's a huge network of vaults in Switzerland that are underground. They hold gold, diamonds, and art. None of it's accountable and not to be picked up by automatic information exchanges. He said there are 10 million people who own a net worth of at least $1 million. He said there used to be 15 tax havens. Now there are 73. And they all sort of work on their own, but also work together on exchanging and sending their goods around the world to have less tax fees and everything like that. This affects me because I'm in a accounting major here at Defiance College, so I have to deal with some tax stuff. And potentially, if I get big clientele, I would have to be able to work and communicate with tax havens and the ability for them to send their money offshore in order to avoid the huge tax penalties. Thank you.